Okay, well, welcome back to part 3 of Carl Rogers' 19 propositions. So, proposition 12. Most of the ways of behaving which are adopted by the organism are those which are consistent with the concept of self. So, most of the ways that Lucy will behave, she'll behave in a way that she believes herself to be. If Lucy has good self-worth, then she'll respect herself and others. Lucy will live her life to her own personal construct of herself. How she perceives herself will be how she thinks and feels she is. If she feels comfortable and happy, then that's exactly how she will be. Proposition 13. Behaviour may in some instances be brought about by organic experiences and needs which have not been symbolised. Such behaviour may be inconsistent with the structure of self, but in such instances the behaviour is not owned by the individual. So, an example may be Lucy's not done her maths homework. Part of her does not like maths, so part of her organismic self doesn't like maths, but she won't admit it to herself and others, so she's not symbolised that. She's not voiced the fact she doesn't like maths. Her teachers and parents are baffled to why she has done this. The truth is Lucy really finds maths boring, but when asked, she denies she's not done it. So it's pre-symbolised, it's not symbolised. She doesn't know herself she doesn't like it, and that's why she's not done her homework. But some level her organismic self is kind of saying, I don't want to do this, but she's not kind of acknowledged it as yet. It's rather like being in denial. Proposition 14. Psychological maladjustments exist when the organism denies to awareness significant sensory and visceral experiences which consequently are not symbolised and organised into the gestalt or the whole thing of self-structure. When this situation exists, there's a basic of potential psychological tension. So when things happen where we're in denial about it, sometimes that can give us tension. And we'll give an example of Lucy's life. Lucy's been told by her new English teacher that she can do better. This feels alien to Lucy as she is top of her set and has been told that she could take her GCSEs a year early. She has been left frightened and confused by this. So if we are told things that are not in keeping with our self-structure, say for instance you're pulled in by your boss at work and told you're not doing a good job when you think you are, then almost certainly you're going to be left frightened and confused, and this is what's happened to Lucy. Proposition 15. Psychological adjustments exist when the concept of self is such that all the sensory and visceral experiences of the orgasm are or may be assimilated on a symbolic level into the consistent relationship with the concept of self. So what does that actually mean? Well, Lucy feels more relaxed and in control when what she does and the experience she has fit her concepts of self. In this case, it's being top of the English class. So when she believes that she's top of the English class, this is a more comfortable place for her to be. Proposition 16. Any experience which is inconsistent with the organisation of self-structure may be perceived as a threat, and more of these perceptions there are, the more rigidly the self-structure is organised to maintain self. So occasionally we see when people are told they're not doing something in the right way, or they're doing something that might be damaging to themselves, sometimes they fall back on a very rigid idea. This is how I've done it, this is the way we've always done it, and they're not open to change. In the case of Lucy, Lucy's now had an argument with her English teacher regarding her comments. What the teacher said does not fit with how Lucy sees her achievements. Lucy will not believe she can do better, so consequently Lucy's now in conflict with herself and the teacher because she will not believe what her teachers said, and that's brought her conflict in herself. Proposition 17. Under certain conditions involving the primarily complete absence of any threat to self-structure, experiences which are inconsistent with it may be perceived and examined, and the structure of self revised to assimilate and include such experiences. So this is really what counselling is about. Those certain conditions are in fact the core conditions, the necessary and sufficient conditions for therapeutic change. And if there's no threat, then it's easier for us to look at ourselves. It's easier if we're in an unconditional environment to be able to be more honest with ourselves. And Lucy finds herself being asked by her English teacher in for a chat. Miss Smith shows Lucy a warm and caring attitude, and under these core conditions, Lucy feels safe enough to hear what is being said about her English work. With the absence of threat, Lucy begins to accept her view of her classwork could be wrong and accepts the constructive feedback from her teacher. So because there's no threat from the teacher, Lucy's more able to look at herself and be more honest with herself. Proposition 18. When the individual perceives and accepts into one consistent and integrated system all his sensory and visceral experiences, everything that's seen and felt, then he is necessarily more understanding of others, and more understanding of others as separate individuals. So when people are comfortable with themselves, they're more likely to be comfortable with other people. And this is the basis of counselling training, isn't it? You cannot accept others unless you accept yourself. Lucy's comfortable with who she is. She thought about what Tom said. Tom said some quite nasty things about her, but she realises he has his opinions and she has hers. She sees Tom as equal, as a human being who has his own personality. She accepts him for who he is. She's very kind of Lucy, considering the horrible things that Tom has said to her. Proposition 19. As the individual perceives and accepts into his self-structure more of his organic experiences, he finds that he is replacing his present value system, based so largely upon introjections which have been distortedly symbolised, with a continuing orgasmic volume process. So basically, it is about, once you can take on your own experience and replace it with your value system, your own set of values, nobody else's, yours, you can then carry on and become fully functioning. And I think this little ending to Lucy's story kind of symbolises that. Lucy's beginning to trust in her own experience. She realises that her mum wants the best for her, but last week she told her mum that she'd come last in her English test and she gave her the Xbox back. Mum, who is wise, put the games console on one side and asked Lucy, "What do you want to do?" And Lucy replied, "The park and ice cream." And that's where they went. Lucy listened to her organismic self, and more to the point, so did her mum. Her mum didn't put conditions of worth on her and say, "I'll take the Xbox back because you didn't do that." She asked Lucy what she wanted to do, and Lucy wanted to do the park and ice cream. Her organismic valuing system wanted that, and that's where they went. So a prologue, or an ending, would give us the impression that the 19 propositions gives a clear sense of person-centred theory, showing how individuals are in a constant process. And we talk about that, don't we? We talk about clients in process. And it links very well, doesn't it, to the 7 stages of the process, which is also on this channel. You can have a look at that. It's on the channel. It also shows how an individual has the potential to move away from conditions of worth and introjected values, other people's views, and giving love conditionally, and also imposing other people's values on yourself, to trusting your own experience and becoming a fully functional person. Conversely, it shows that some relationships can be damaging while others can be positive and life enhancing. And I think that sums up the human condition for me. Sometimes we have very positive relationships that can enhance our lives, and sometimes we don't, and that can sometimes be slightly detrimental. But in all of this, Rogers would say, the theory would tell us, that we have to trust our own experience, our organismic valuing process. And the bottom line, I guess, if it doesn't feel right for you, it probably isn't right for you. For further information, if you're watching on the VLE, I put the entire PowerPoint on the VLE, and you can download it by clicking the resource tab above the red arrow on the right. If you're watching this on YouTube, then what I will do is I will place a link in the bar below the red arrow to some further information and something you can read on Rogers' 19 propositions. And finally, Episode 3. Thank you for watching.